going on stage. I try to keep you awake. Don't leave now. So first of all, I want to thank you everyone for inviting us here and for hosting us, also for the workshop that will lead from Friday to Sunday. I want to thank Light Helium Symposium and particularly Alexandra Meyer and Alexandra and Maria, because I know how many efforts you need to organize something like that. So, about the presentation, I try to be as fast as possible, so you can go for dinner. Is a project that is not, I don't think is a successful project. Actually, I think it's quite a failure. But that's why I wanted to present this project to you, because you saw many beautiful projects, and now you think you want to be a lighting designer, and I tell you, no, just change profession. It's not necessary, really. A story that is starting in 2014 in January in Rhode Island, that is a USA state, and in Providence city. That is a city that is 30 minutes south from Boston. So maybe you know where Boston is, so you can understand where Providence is. So, yeah, I'm who I am. I'm architect and lighting designer, and I have my own London-based studio of lighting designer, particularly specialized in urban spaces. I'm working now with Don Slater and Joan Twisted on the Configuring Light program, particularly on the social lightscape workshops. That, I mean, you will discover what it is on Friday. And I'm obsessed with something that is like since 2010. We have also like a collective that is called Social Light Movement, where we try to raise awareness of how lighting is important, not just in the city center, not just for beautiful art piece, but also in the outskirts, in areas where actually no one wants to go, where there's no interest in going. So my obsession is actually, can we design a better environment for, let's say, minorities? I mean, if we can call them like that. Can our design actually respond to some needs of complexity and diversity? And I think this project does not answer to these questions, but is a good learning process, and it was a very good learning process for me as well. Everything is started, and it was already like a sign, the fate, as Maria was saying. I was stuck with the cemetery in Providence, with an abandoned cemetery, an historical abandoned cemetery in Providence. So basically, I had the incredible opportunity to teach at Rhode Island School of Design. That is an amazing university of art and architecture. And they asked me to go there for 5 weeks of a winter session, so January 2014. Minus 14 degrees every day. It was like a very cold winter. And basically the university and the city together decided that the most important place where to work in Providence was in South Providence, that is a part of the town, but particularly in this area, so in a cemetery. And I remember still when they told me that, I was like, okay, so what I do in abandoned cemetery now? And actually then we start working. So the first big thing was to move all the students from the posh and nice hill they have, because the university is on the nice side of Providence, to South Providence. And that was quite a big challenge, because actually they told me we are not allowed to go there, because the university doesn't allow us to go there because it's dangerous. It's actually not a safe area. But I say, well, but if we are working there, we need to go somehow. So I was very annoyed by this answer. And so I say, okay, then we move all the class for the 5 weeks in this place. And we had the shop, we asked to an association working in the area to give us a space really close to the cemetery, just on the other side of the street. And so we did 5 weeks, very intense 5 weeks, where, I mean, we spoke with the people there, particularly through, that's answering to the question of the guy there, through an association that was called SWAP, that is Stop Wasting Abandoned Property, because there's a big problem of homeless people, but at the same time there's a big problem of abandoned properties because no one has the money to restore them and to renew them. So through SWAP, we kind of got through the different layers and social layers of this area, and we at the end, I mean, like the students were working a lot on understanding the space, the social space, the history of the space, because of course it was also an historical cemetery. So we present to the community a first idea of how to give an identity to this South Providence, because at the point when we started in January 2014, a lot of people from the other side of Providence, they didn't even know about South Providence. They didn't never like mention South Providence. So at the beginning, it really was even difficult for us to communicate where we were working. So we started saying, maybe it's good to, give an identity, give a logo, give a branding to this place, and set up a lot of social media and Twitter account and Facebook. And this is just, this is to communicate with the university, basically. So we were stuck in this place where we were working basically alone, because the university was there thinking that we were doing some nice social jobs and then, to look pretty. And, and we were there alone with the SWAP Association that was very helpful. The city was saying, we have to work there, but basically they ignore us for the 5 weeks. It was not really easy, I have to say. And so but I had really motivated students. So we create banners, we create, I had one Spanish speaker in the group that was fantastic, because then we discovered that the 90% of the residents of the area, they're not speaking English, so they just speak Spanish. So that was also quite a challenge. And so we translate all the banners, and we create. They come up with this idea to do a lighting installation for 2 days at the end of the 5 weeks, where basically we had the cemetery had the amazing history of famous people that were buried there. So we discovered all this story on the archive, and we wanted to have the people, the residents, going around and meander through this cemetery that was it was completely pitch dark, so no lights at all. So people were not crossing the cemetery. We discovered that a lot of people were going around, make a very long way to go food shopping, for example, because they were so scared of crossing the cemetery. And when you think, I think Dawn was explaining you better, you have assumption about a space. So I say, okay, maybe it's not that scary, to cross this cemetery. But then I went there by night. Not by night, when it was dark. It was winter, so it was dark at 6 o'clock. And I crossed the only path that is clearly a path, because the rest is a bit difficult to cross. And I crossed the path in the middle of the cemetery. I thought, this is very scary. And I started running like hell on the other side of the street. So it was not pleasant, because a lot of drug addicts and homeless, they are living in the cemetery. And because you don't see the path, you don't see anything around you, you just hear noise of these people. They may be chatting, maybe drinking easily, but of course your imagination is going completely in another direction. So they came out with this idea, okay, we want to open up, in a sense, the cemetery for 2 nights, and have a party there, and have people walking there, and discovering again the history of Providence. That is quite a nice city at the end, I discovered, after 2 years. The first year I was a bit shocked about it, but and so we managed with the budget. Was impossible. Like a struggle that I will remember till the end of my life. Also because the day before there was a snowstorm, of course. What can you do with a snowstorm? So we were panicking, because of course we had to wire things in the snow, and we had a lot of fixture from Color Kinetics. So one of the, let's say, experts from Color Kinetics came down, and when she saw how we were plugging things in the snow, she was just like, "Are you joking?" And I say, "No, we are desperate." So we had the logo laser cut, and then we use a lot of beautiful candles that with the snow are really good. we use some uplights for the main trees, and then these candles were bringing you to the main headstone. And in this point here, where you had this main screen, there were like giant leaf. The students were projecting all the stories that we found. We connect at that point with the Southside Cultural Center. The Southside Cultural Center was on the other side of the street, and there's a lot of activities going on there. So there were actors, players, performers, and storytellers. So we had the storytellers group to record all the stories and to read the stories. So you were just, going around there and sit there in -14, obviously very pleasant, sit there and listen to the story. I have to say that we have 200 people in -14 for 2 nights. So I think it was quite good. But that is just the beginning. I thought it was the end, and I was very happy it was the end. But it was not the end. That's a successful kind of story. And now we are going to the bad side of it. So yeah, everyone was happy dancing. Yoo-hoo, nice, fantastic. We want to keep this forever. How nice idea. And so the city and the Rhode Island School of Design had the crazy idea to apply for a grant. And even crazy with this project. So they took the pictures of the project. I knew about it. I did the interview for the grants and everything. And we won the grant. We actually won, incredible, $300,000. And the idea was to realize the project for permanent. But what happened is that we start again. We start again with students because, of course, it was also a university project. So, you have in a sense, the complexity of managing also a class. So it was not just about me designing something, but it was again about involving a new group of students and starting basically from scratch on the same area. We start with working in the same area. So we start working again in the cemetery. You see here, this is the Southside Cultural Center. And this, you see here, is a huge parking lot of the Southside Cultural Center. So they did a lot of analysis again. We did a book with 250 interviews in the area of the residents in the area that they're all collected in a nice book. And the new students came out with I have to say something. The actors in this story changed completely. So remember I was telling, in the first project we worked basically alone. Rizdi was there, but the name was not so into the project. The city was there, but they understand later there was a possibility and a possible new space where to work. So it was 15 students, a little girl from Italy, and SWAP, the association. SWAP changed director. Okay, so SWAP disappeared from this other second story. SWAP changed director, SWAP disappeared. City is coming in strong, and RISD coming in strong. And we had the money. So this is a complete different, is what I learned, that is a complete different way of dealing with things. So students, they did analysis, light analysis, daylight analysis, movement analysis, interviews, observation of people. And they came out with a fantastic idea that I'm really proud, to cut the cemetery instead, this is the path that was, let's say, the most obvious path that is still there. But they come with the idea of a boulevard. So to create not just a path, but really a kind of green space, a park where you can add activities. Actually, this part here is the part with less headstones. So it was very easy to create, new landscape, new flower, new trees, benches, a big screen for theater and performances. And this path was connecting very well a lot of housing here to a food area shopping that is just here, and to the Southside Cultural Center that was very important in the area. So we present the project at the I cannot say community now. We present the project to every residence, because the city was really keen on having everyone from the area to agree on the project. That is completely insane, you know, because there's always someone that doesn't agree. But not just that, actually, they completely reject the project. So, like, after 6 months, I was like, you see my face here? Like, you know, like, I was like, like, are you joking? They reject the project because it was very complicated. It was more a political issue than a design issue. And then is what you discover later. So the cemetery is not owned by the city. It's owned by Grace Church Cemetery. And the Grace Church is a church that is quite rich, and the church is in the city center. And the church always avoided to do any work in the cemetery. So the city didn't want to work on the cemetery because they didn't want basically to give money to the church because it was anyhow church land. And the residents didn't want the project in the church land because they were very angry against the church. They also didn't want Rhode to work in the area because Rhode, till like 3 or 4 years ago, was seen as you know, the university of the rich kids. So there was a lot of contrast and angriness, and everyone was like, no. And also, we had the money. So the first project you saw, we had like, I think, $1,000 in total. Okay, so I'm being very honest about money. I know that everyone is saying, oh, it's very easy to access to 2 million LED dots. It's not. I mean, I tell you, it's not. But with the, you know, in theory, with $300,000, the people are just making this enormous. So, we know you have $1 million now to work in the area. Why you don't clean our street? Why you don't do, I don't know, like new schools? Why don't you do like a dog's park or like something? Absolutely. A swimming pool. We want a swimming pool. Why you don't build a swimming pool? I was like, yeah, okay. So first of all, we don't have $1 million, so we had to explain. Second, we didn't have $300,000 because the city took $210,000. So we have left $80,000 for us. So the reality was that we had a very small pocket of money to realize the project. So they reject the project, and actually the manager, the director of the cultural center, was desperate as well because he was very keen on renovating the area. And he said, you know what? We need a new performance space, and everyone would be very happy to have a new performance space because we want more young people to come here to have accessible performance space for everyone that you can just book online. And suddenly, all the people in the room that were representative of the residents, they say, yes, we want a new performance space. And I say, okay, this is the solution, go. Also because if not, we were losing the money. So what happened is that basically from May till now, we redesign, and we design in the parking lot of the Southside Cultural Center. So I'm going to, so this is the angry guy, another angry girl. We did plenty of models. No, no way. So yes, from here we move there. And I think it was actually a very right things to do at the end. I mean, of course, when you, in that moment, in that meeting, you are a bit like feeling lightly frustrated, I would say. But then you understand that it's really a anchor point for the area. So if no one can do anything, at least there something can happen. And so we took the idea, the original idea of, we didn't want to abandon the boulevard idea, and we are still hoping to, you know, that the city will buy the cemetery from the church, so then we can do the boulevard in the cemetery. But then we'll be like probably in 10 years' time. We didn't want to abandon the boulevard idea, and we decided to create the performance space outside, also because the Southside Cultural Center has a big problem of accessibility for disabled people. So that was just easy to create a flat area with landscape and the new performance space and everything. We start a Kickstarter campaign, and I have to say that in 30 days we collect $6,000. I think quite good. This is the dean of the faculty that we played for us. And then we started. So we start construction in June, beginning of June. The students, very motivated students, did there. And of course, I mean, I should speak about lighting, but in reality, the lighting is the minimal part, is probably 0.1% of this. But we had to spend all the money to create, you know, the landscape and the foundation and the performance space. So you will see what happened with the light. So this is getting there. So we work a lot on the, basically this space here is a standard greenhouse, just assembled in a different way. So all the pieces that you see there, they are like off shelf. So we didn't basically design pieces, but we just assembled in a different way. What we changed, because we had Saint-Gobain that was sponsoring us, is the surface material that you see, that is polycarbonate, but is a very nice kind of polycarbonate that is reacting very well to light. So it's diffusing light really well. We had a nice manifesto for the opening. There was just the 23rd of September, so it was, I think, last week, something like that. I was there, I don't remember anymore. And everyone was invited. There was film screening, free food, popcorn, and all the performance group of the Southside Cultural Center could perform in the space that night. I mean, it's open now, but they did a kind of show of performances. The mayor came to open this place. That is fantastic, because we really change the perception of the area. That's the only things I'm very happy about. So people now are going to South Providence, because the project was called South Light at the beginning, and it's still South Light. So is the name that is staying in the head of people, and they say, South Light in South Providence. And the students now are very easy to go, and they just, you know, take the bus and coming back. So it's very different as perception as when I started. So that's, I think, is nice. And this was how it was before, with a nice chain link everywhere to avoid the people coming in. And now we have a nice and green and wood, and with the brand new Southside Cultural Center. They had to close it at night. I tried to keep it open all night long, but they didn't allow me. Yeah, compromising. And this was how it was before. So, I mean, nothing. And how it is now, after 3 months of work. And you see that we had the people inside there. You can open completely the area, and you can enter from this side as well, and from the side that you saw before. And this is, the lighting design is solar lights on trees and bushes, and then some light inside the performance space. A total of $300. And yes, but we made it clever. I mean, we made like clamps and everything, sockets for theater lighting, so they can do whatever they want when they perform. And this is still, I mean, it will be the lantern of Southside Cultural Center and of South Providence. And that's the end of this story. So if you have question, I'm here. Question? No? Too tired of question. Yeah. Question? You have a question.
No, you were saying, you know, what part does light play in this story? And what I was wondering was, did it play any part in the community rejecting the plan, that light wasn't important enough to spend money on? Did it have anything to do, you know, to do with?
I think light played different roles in this project. I think that's quite a good question, because it played the role of activating the area at the beginning, in the first part of the project. So lighting, you know, as a temporary tool is fantastic, because in 2 days you just animate an area of town that was completely forgotten. And that was working very well. Lighting design was, no, I think they just rejected general concept about working in that specific space. And no, in general terms, I think in lighting-wise, of course, I mean, when they when we won the grant, I ask immediately for an architect to work on the project with me, because I say, I mean, lighting is important, but it's not just about lighting. I mean, here we need something more. I mean, here we need a space, we need to build something, we need to attract people, we need to regenerate the area. And I mean, lighting, I'm not sure alone can do that. That's why I think, I mean, if the last image you saw, this is really 8 fluorescent naked, you know, so it's probably $100, not even. But the effect is magic, because actually before they had prison lighting again on the parking lot, and after that's happened just on Friday night when we open up the performance space. Richardson, that is the manager, had the parking lighting on. And I was I went to Richard and said, Richardson, what are you doing? We need to switch that off. I mean, it's the opening. And he was like, oh, but the people they will not see anything, and they will, you know, trip, and then it's our fault. And I say, look, I sign whatever you want, and I take responsibility if someone is falling apart. Or and they say, okay, let's do that. So we switch off all the existing lighting, and we kept on just the lantern. And the effect was magic. I mean, like, we had enough light to, you know, to see, to perform, to do everything. And at the end, also the fire police came and say, you know, it's actually, you can see very well. I mean, we don't need that light. And so now the light, the timer of the prison light is off forever. So, any other question?